Hi, it's Elizabeth Willits here from Investing in Women. I hope you've had a lovely bank holiday weekend. We are live today on Facebook and on LinkedIn, and I'm chatting with Lucy Higgins, who is a coach with Big Talk for Mums. And we're going to be talking all about why society makes us feel like we are failing and what we can do about it. So as you're logging on, if you can let us know if you can hear us all right, that would be brilliant. Give us a like or an emoji, and we'd really appreciate that. But we are live today on Facebook and on LinkedIn. I'm with Lucy Higgins from Big Talk for Mums, and we're going to be talking all about why society makes us feel like we're failing and what we can do about it. So thank you so much, Lucy, for joining us. It sounds like we're going to have a really meaty conversation today, which I'm really, really looking forward to. So before we start talking about society and expectations and things like that, do you want to give people a bit of a brief overview as to who you are and what Big Talk for Mums does?
Yeah, sure. So hi everyone, I'm Lucy Higgins. So I'm an accredited transformational coach with the International Coaching Federation, and I retrained about 4 years ago now, 10 years into motherhood, because I really wanted to help women to thrive at home and work. And that was partly because of my own experience of not feeling very well supported, kind of losing myself a bit in motherhood, and just being really passionate about gender equality.
Yeah.
So I now work one-to-one with mothers and high potential women as well, in corporates mainly. So it's kind of working parents coaching, work-life balance. I do maternity coaching, return to work coaching, and I work with companies all over the world.
Wow.
So yeah,
so it's a global role then. I mean, yeah, it's global company.
Yeah, so I'm an associate coach with 2 international coaching consultancies. So the majority of my work comes through the consultancy. So I get to work with all sorts of amazing brands, which I love.
Yeah, you're sort of working for the companies then, helping these forward-thinking companies that are trying to support them for you.
Exactly, yeah.
Wow.
So it's all the companies that have got a diversity inclusion strategy in place.
Yeah.
And coaching is there to help embed that strategy into the individual. And they really want to support women and working parents. So it's a dream for me.
Yeah, because we hear about, we see a lot of diversity and inclusion policies on websites, and it's don't always know how much, is implemented on that, how much the company believes in that. But these organisations that are investing in coaching for employees do sound like they're one of the good ones. And something maybe other, especially in such a candidate-driven market, something other employers could take on board.
Yeah, and you know that this is one of the strategies that you can put in place to retain female staff, because so many women are leaving at the moment. And I don't know, did you see that Deloitte's report that's been out?
No, tell us about the Deloitte report.
So I've got a stat actually here. So it was the Women at Work report.
Yeah.
It was 5,000 women in 10 different countries.
Yeah.
So nearly half of women, so 46%, said they felt burnt out.
Yeah.
And 47% described their mental health as either poor or very poor. And those 46% that burnt out want to leave. So they're going to leave in the next 2 years. So that's Deloitte.
Do you think that's the pandemic, or do you think that has been a problem that has been brewing and it's been compounding? And
I think, I feel, and I'm sure you'll agree, that it was brewing, and then the pandemic has just tipped a lot of people over the edge.
Yeah.
And that's why I love what I do, because I'm helping women feel happier and hopefully preventing burnout. But I also feel really sad about it, that women weren't supported. I mean, I've been supported. People have been supporting women the last 2 years, absolutely. But society as a whole hasn't. The government hasn't. The big institutions haven't. And I hope, if women are going to be leaving in their droves, businesses are going to sit up and listen and try and hold on to them. I hope.
Hopefully. Okay, so were you working? So you set up this 10 years into motherhood. What was the prompt for you?
So I'd always wanted to be a coach. I'd always wanted to help people. I basically wasn't brave enough. So I left a job that I had at Nestle, you know, the FMCG company, go and be a coach. And then I spoke to someone that I really value their opinion. And they said to me, you can't be a coach at 26 because no one will take you seriously. And so I went back in to communications and PR because that was my safe thing. It's what, you know, so many people do. They know in their heart they want to do something else. They know in their heart the reason they're feeling anxious and burnt out is because they're in the wrong job. But they stay in it because they're scared. They're fear of failure. They listen to what other people say. And this is where the kind of expectations thing comes in, doesn't it? Around living a life that's true to you and not other people. So I look back on that and I think, God, that's interesting, because why didn't I feel brave enough? Why didn't I just go for it? But it wasn't until I was a mother that I got the courage to do it. And the only reason I did was because I had 2 years of therapy and a year of coaching. And then I had the courage and the confidence. So I'm not saying for a minute that this is just about being brave. It's about reaching out and getting help. You know, you need that space to be able to understand who you really are, what you want, what your values are, what your strengths are. And then you'll have the courage to go and do it. So
do you think,
go on.
You see in your market then, when you became a mum, you could see the market of people you could help, like other mums?
100%, like straight away, because I was surrounded by these incredible women who felt stuck between wanting to care for their children and wanting to achieve their personal and professional potential. And I felt it was visceral in everybody. It was frustration. It was push and pull. It was
such a push and
shame. It was shame. You know, there's all these feelings, and I spent a lot of time talking to women and mothers about how they were feeling. And obviously, like mental health wise, maternal mental health is in the toilet. Like women are not supported in the way that they should be, because it's all about the child. It's all about focusing on the child and not about focusing on the mother. So I absolutely saw the opportunity there and then. I just wasn't brave enough until I did my own inner work. I used to look at people doing it and think, God, they're so brave. You know, I wish I could do that.
Well, I did as well too. Actually, but you know, this is sort of digressing. I felt that when I was like, you know, in the real depths of it, I say the trenches. That's an awful word. But you know, I had a baby. I have a 19-month age gap, and actually, you're just exhausted, and it's very hard to function and to put ideas to life. Actually, at that point, there's no way I could have done this.
No. That's true. There's a timing element to it. I mean, I looking back, I had two under two as well. So they were 22 months apart.
It's a tough.
And when you're in that time as well, if you can remember it, it's like you if anything else happens, so any other curveballs in life, oh my God, it throws you, doesn't it? So you've got to be so sort of grounded in order to cope. And that's one of the perfect mother myth things. Is like you've got to cope, you've got to enjoy it. You know, and it can make people feel so rubbish and failures, you know, like failure.
I know,
the last thing you're going to do is start a new career.
I know, in a way, that year or however long you have, you know, it's just actually about recuperating, isn't it? And taking stuff, and it's a huge thing that's happened to you. You've got a new life. You maybe had a traumatic birth. You might be struggling to fit, whatever. And this, and you know, relationships all change. Relationships partner, with friends, with other, there's so much going on.
Exactly. And that, do you know,
settle really into a new,
yeah, exactly, settling into this new, well, in sociological terms, it's Institute of Motherhood. It's a social construct. And do you know about the term matrescence? Have you heard that?
No.
So that is, it's basically a sort of growing body of work around the hormonal, psychological, social, physical changes that a woman goes through when they become a mother. And it can be kind of over 7 years. So it's a long period of change and transition that we all, as women, know what that is. Like you could probably write an essay on how you felt in all those different realms I just mentioned, but it's not named, it's not talked about, it's not.
So what's it called again?
It's matrescence. So it's been likened to adolescence. Think about teenagers entering adolescence and what happens to their brain, their bodies, their social standing, their sense of belonging, all that stuff. That's what we go through as mothers when we enter motherhood. And if you Google it, you can see like all the research on it, and it's amazing. I just feel sad that not many people know about that.
That is sad, because you're the second person that said something like that. She didn't use that, so she was a child psychiatrist. She said there's sort of 3 times in our lives that the brain changes: toddlerhood, it's a little bit maybe teenage, and new mum.
Right, yeah, exactly. So, NCT groups, why are we not told about matrescence? Imagine if we and as pregnant women with our partners had a module on matrescence where we learned about the changes that we were about to experience.
Yeah, you don't know, do you? So what is the perfect mother myth?
So the perfect mother myth. So I've done a course with Dr. Sophie Brock, who is a motherhood sociologist.
Okay.
And she uses an analogy, which I'm going to describe because I think this is helpful.
Yeah.
Picture it. So she uses an analogy of a fish tank.
Yeah.
And the mothers are the fish. So you imagine the fish go in the fish tank as they become mothers, and they're swimming around in this fish tank, which is the Institute of Motherhood. And that swimming around is the socialization of the mother. And as they're swimming, because imagine you've just become a mother, you're swimming along, you're all in different places, by the way, in this fish tank, depending on our socioeconomics. So depending on our class, our gender, our race.
Okay, so is it just mums in the fish tank, or is there dad?
Mums.
Okay.
We're like, we don't know what to do. We don't know how to deal with this. And on the side of the fish tank, a set of rules, and they are the rules of motherhood. So that is the perfect mother myth. So on there, as a mother, we need to devote ourselves entirely to our children. We need to be selfless. We need to be cooking from scratch. We need to be enjoying motherhood. We can't be angry. We can't be resentful. We need to be in paid employment as well as looking after our children. So we need to be doing both. We are not allowed to show we're not coping in any way. So we've got to be like, this is fine. This is like, we're doing really well. And if we're not coping,
we're drowning.
If we're not able to find the answers ourselves, we go to experts and we pay for expert opinion.
Yeah. And they do well, like this other sleep. I see them on the Facebook group. Sleep experts. They do really well. I remember my friend, she really bought into Gina Ford.
Exactly. So all this is like looking to experts for answers as opposed to ourselves. We limit screen time. Our children are very well behaved, because if they're not, then that reflects on us, not the father, the mother. We go to activities, we take them to clubs, we take them to classes, they do QMON, they do, we are nurturing these children. and putting them ahead of our own needs.
Yeah, we're putting them at the center of our world, our universe. You're right, aren't you?
Yeah, and we're also married, white, neurotypical, we are able-bodied, so it's about privilege as well. So we cannot live up to this.
No.
None of us can.
No.
So this is why we end up feeling, well, one of the reasons why we end up feeling very stressed, guilty, like we're never enough. We're stuck in this whole work, you know, specifically for your audience, we're stuck between this work and caring thing.
Yeah.
Where we're trying to be the perfect employee and we're trying to be the perfect mother, but basically we end up feeling like we're not doing any of them right. Yeah. So this is society conditioning us to believe this is what we should be doing.
And why do you think society does that? Is that something to do with gender equality, keeping women down, or?
Yeah, so it's the patriarchy. So this is patriarchal motherhood. So
this is like a man's image of what. Although there must be other women that think this is what motherhood should be as well. There must be some people that maybe think this is what motherhood should be.
I don't know. I mean, if this is so the way I look at it is the women that I work with who are stressed, anxious, feeling guilty, never feeling good enough, we unpick why they're feeling that way.
Yeah.
And often it's because of society. It's because society is saying they should be doing certain things.
Yeah.
And then we work out, well, what are your true values? Who are you really? Let's strip back the mask of motherhood. Let's look at who you really are before, you know, forget the conditioning.
Yeah.
And what I find is that they're not that person at all. So it's interesting you say that. Like, have you got people in mind that you think? I'm not asking you to name them. I'm just thinking, tell me where that came from. That sort of thought around there must be people that think this is what motherhood should be.
I'm just saying, like the Daily Mail. You know, when you go on the Daily Mail, you read an article, which I should not do, because then I go straight to the comments, and you can see that there are men and women that are making quite derogatory comments about motherhood and I mean, sometimes they use the word parent, you know, but so that's what I was thinking about. And then I guess as well, actually, I was brought up by a stay-at-home mom. She has definitely put, you know, I wouldn't say fit, but we have been the centre, you know. She definitely took a step back, and I think actually personally it's been quite hard for me to be a working mum, knowing that my mum was a stay-at-home mum that did cook from scratch, that did do you sort of mentioned.
But she wasn't a working mum.
No.
I mean, when I say working, I mean paid work.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah.
Working in the home is work.
Yeah, I know, because I've done them both, and I would definitely. I'd feel opposite. This is another thing, the guilt thing. About like talking to you than doing, you know, it's hard being at home with your kids all day, every day. It's just,
of course.
So, yeah, this is nice.
Yeah, I mean, it's this is the other thing, isn't it, that we should want to be with our children all the time. You know, we're only working for financial independence so that we're not dependent on our husbands. You know, it's I mean, the answer, I would say, my understanding is that the reason this happens is to keep us stuck, so that because it's a power thing at the end of the day. Imagine what would happen if us as mothers started ramming against the tank, making cracks, saying we're not doing this anymore, we're not doing it. Well, like this statistic from Deloitte, you know, if all these people do leave, if half the workforce leave, what would happen? The society would fall apart without mothers.
But they're providing a lot of the unpaid labour as well. I read is it Iceland that did that strike, the women's strike in the 1970s?
I don't know. That rings a bell.
I think it was Iceland. All the women went strike and just didn't do anything. I don't know what they did. I think they actually did picket. They did something. And then there was that they had male newsreaders taking kids into, they were reading the news with their kids. It was actually, and they are now like the most equal society in the world.
Really?
I think it stemmed from that day.
Well, there you go. That just proves it. At the moment, we are contained in this tank, and we are slowly but surely making small changes. But the first step is to become aware of this stuff. Yeah. And that, we need to be aware of it. Otherwise, we're just upholding the patriarchy and keeping us stressed, anxious, guilty, all that stuff.
Yeah.
So that's the way I see it. Yes, we could see it as martyrdom and victim, or we could say, no, we're going to educate ourselves and understand the social structure that we're actually mothering in, and we're going to empower ourselves to make choices based on what we know. So we're not, let's not be ignorant to what's going on. That's why.
Yeah. So people saying these are important conversations we're having. Glad we're talking about this. Pavlina says, so right, there are so many gaps when it comes to educating mums to be about the fourth trimester. The fourth trimester is tough.
Yeah,
really tough.
And when you think about like what we're going through and the changes that we're going through, it baffles me that there is not more support for women to get through it. If we care about the child, why are we not giving mothers more support? Why are maternal mental health services so dire and underfunded?
What would you like to see then happen from a society perspective in the first few years, really, I suppose? How would you like society to support women, and then what can we do as well to make a change? There's two questions.
Well, I mean, if I was government strategically, I would be doing
Boris.
Yeah, if I was Boris. And I find it really perplexing as well that Boris's mum had real mental health issues.
Okay.
And to my understanding, he doesn't really prioritise mental health in terms of funding. I know he shouldn't do it from a personal perspective, like policy, but why does he not talk about it? But anyway, he needs to do his own inner work and
I think he's got a lot of inner work.
A lot of work.
He'll be in therapy for
yeah. So what can society do? So the first thing is I think to put the mother at the centre. So you're putting all this social pressure on mothers that you're not giving us the support we need to deliver the expectations that you've got of us. And I'm not talking about the perfect mother myth here, because that is narrative. It's but I'm talking about looking after children, nurturing children, raising them to be good human beings in society. We don't get much support, do we?
No.
So that would be my first thing, like just strategically think about that rather than focusing on the child.
You get the few health visitor thing. I mean, obviously, I know that people didn't have that maybe had a baby in COVID. But you do get that, don't you? But it is quite a brief visit, and it's often maybe different people coming, isn't it? Popping in. You might not have the same visitor.
You get that, but it from my speaking to lots of women, a lot of women feel judged by those institutions, by the medical profession, because they're not looking at the mother, they're looking at the mother's mothering. They're looking at, when they enter the room, they're thinking, how is this mother looking after the child? They're not thinking, how is this mother looking after herself?
Yeah.
So already they're not putting the mother. I don't feel, generally that's the feedback I get from women. But also that's like an hour attention. And flexible working, 100%, affordable childcare, and parental leave policy as opposed to maternity policy. So just those four things are a good start to support us to raise the next generation of kids. I don't think it's that much to ask.
No, I don't. I mean, yeah, it is meant. I remember my husband took 2 weeks off, and like, you know, they go back and it's like that day. It's just like, what the hell? What am I doing?
Yeah, exactly. And that's when you're flailing around in the tank, and you're going, I need something to hold on to.
Yeah, and it's an effort actually to get out the house. I think as well, maybe more local hubs. I remember. I mean, I suppose it depends where you live. I remember having to get my daughter in the. I mean, I'd had a C-section as well, so you can't even drive 6 weeks. But you know, it seems quite a lot of effort to get them in the car seat.
Exactly. And then I remember
schools could have I don't know. It needs to be maybe a bit more on that.
Well, my dream, I did a Instagram live with Dr. Rebecca Moore, who is a perinatal clinical psychologist. She's absolutely amazing. And my dream, I was talking about with her, is to have maternal wellbeing hubs in every town, and they've got everything. They've got the whole mind body support, you know, everything from medical support, hormonal, natural. They've got coaches, psychologists, they've got, you know, it's all supporting the mother. And obviously that is a big pipe dream. But if I won the lottery, that's what I would do.
Because they have the Sure Start centres, but I think they a lot of those closed and
closed.
And they're sort of what you're referring to, sort of similar, or
I'm not sure they're as holistic though, are they?
I only went to 1 or 2, and mostly because they were a little bit further away, and it was when we were doing the children's health checks that you do, you know. Whatever they are.
But that again is about the child.
Yeah, it's all about the child. You're correct. Yeah.
It's not about you. And I think that's this thing, that what you're talking about is this selfless thing, that we're meant to be selfless all the time and put the child's needs first. But you know, the more we do that, the less of a human we are. Like, we're basically not ourselves. We're becoming society's version of a mother as opposed to who we are.
Yeah.
And therefore, I believe we're not bringing up our children in a very authentic way, because we're kind of pretending.
Yeah.
I think we should be more authentic with our kids and be more courageous and give them the whole spectrum of emotions. And
you're right. And you know, actually, when you're happy, you're more productive. I feel I'm more productive at work. I'm better with the kids actually when I'm happy, and actually when I've had a bit of space from them as well, like when they're at nursery, then I can be a bit more focused on them when they come back. The days when
But if you were supported as an individual and you were happy and, like you say, you were productive, imagine that 1,000,000 times over with half the population, the power that women would have in society if that happened. Okay, that's what the patriarchy doesn't want. So that's why we're suppressed and oppressed.
What a really interesting comment. We've had people saying, yes, we've got to dream big, they're on board. Someone said it's like maternity allowance given by the government as the self-employed person is kicking the teeth. Social pressure is crazy. Yeah. And you don't get a lot actually, do you? Maternity pay or maternity allowance.
No, I mean,
considering we are raising the next generation, it's not. What I really noticed was it's pittance, isn't it? Really, what you get, particularly for that. But when people were furloughed, they were given 80% of their salary, and that I think is because it was men that were furloughed as much as women, and they suddenly valued them. I think that just show there is a real discrepancy as to how women are valued and how the government thinks they can pay us X. But if men are suddenly getting furloughed, they get 80%.
Yeah, exactly. And just the discrepancy between the way, oh gosh, anyway, don't get me started. We're finishing now, aren't we? So
yeah, we are. So
I can't carry on.
Before we wrap up, so we talked a little bit about how society can help us, but people are watching this and they're getting angry and feeling maybe a bit like me, like what can we do as individuals to fight this patriarchy and to help ourselves and to help fellow women and really, you know, break through that tank and then actually break through that glass ceiling that's all, all glass.
We can do so much, but one of the things that we haven't touched on is competitiveness with women. So one of the big things that we can do is support each other. Okay, so the way that the patriarchy, one of the ways it stops us from ramming that tank is by getting us to focus on each other and being competitive with each other and putting each other into good mother, bad mother categories, judging each other, right? Because all that time that we're spending bitching about other women, we could be focusing on the structure that's keeping us stuck. We're not. And the media and everything perpetuates that competitiveness between women.
Yeah, they do.
Stop doing it. So recognize what's happening, step away and go, right, do I need to be doing this, or should I focus on something else? Okay, so that's the first thing. Like, women need to support each other.
Yeah, and support each other's choices.
Yeah. Okay. Like, it doesn't need to trigger you. Like, stay in your own lane. Understand that all these feelings of anger, resentment, guilt, it's not your fault. That is a product of the social construction of motherhood. That it's the social expectations and norms that you've absorbed since you're a child on what it means to be a mother, and that is jarring against society's like support. So they're not supporting us to actually achieve that. So that's why you feel all those things. It's not to do with you. However, you can do something about it. You're saying, what can the individual do? We could sit around and feel rubbish about this, or we can detox from this conditioning. So that's about really looking at the tank and going, what is this? What are these rules that I've internalized? Which of them do I believe in? Which of them do I not? What are my values? What choices are made in the past that aren't really authentically aligned? How do I want the next 5 years to look? This is about calling out gender inequality. This is also about mothering. Like, we've got a real power in our mothering to bring up a generation of critical thinkers.
Yeah.
So question stuff with the kids, get them to question what they see on telly. If they're being seen, they're being shown images of women in the kitchen, the 50s housewife, which still plays out. Get them to question it. What do you think of that?
Yeah.
What do you think about the fact that daddy does the bins and the finances and mummy does the cooking? What do you think about that? Just get them to question stuff. So that's the other thing we can do.
Love it. And I guess as well, like, I suppose it's who we follow as well online. So if we following people that aren't good for our mental health, then it's okay to follow them.
Yeah, 100%. I'm a big believer in that, like, boundaries. So think about, I think there's a stat, isn't there, that you're basically the average of the 5 people that you hang around with the most. So you become those people. So be aware of that with social media, definitely, because it can really impact your thoughts.
Yeah.
And your feelings and your mental health. Yeah.
I love this. And it's all right to call out organizations, I guess, as I've seen an advert, you don't like that, call it out. I think actually it's so empowering when you see, remember it was International Women's Day. Did you see the Twitter, the gender pay bot or something it was called on Twitter, and was called every company that tweeted about International Women's Day celebrating somebody that worked for them, the gender pay bot underneath is like calling them out on their gender pay gap.
Brilliant.
Really powerful. Brilliant. Yeah.
And that's where social media and technology is great, isn't it? Because people feel like they've got a voice. Even if it doesn't make much of an impact, at least you can actually, you've got the freedom to be able to say how you feel.
Yeah, I remember the companies that then quickly removed their original tweets. So Yeah, good for that gender pay bot. Katie said she's really enjoying this discussion. Thank you so much for running it. Wish more women would be honest about motherhood and start to call out the perfect mother myth.
Yeah.
Marina says she loved that. Yvonne said it's so important raising a generation of critical thinkers. And someone else has said, I know it helped me feel better about sending my daughter to nursery at a year old, and my feelings of crushing guilt could not be directly attributed to my close environment, who are mostly very supportive. It took me a while to trace them to the way I've grown up and the general messaging to you, Mum.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's tough, and we're all in it together, and we need to talk more, be more vulnerable. That's why my handle on Instagram is called Big Talk for Mums, because we do not need small talk. We need big talk. We do not want to be at the school gates chatting about stuff that doesn't matter. Like, how are you? I'm fine. I'm fine. How are you? I'm fine. I'm fine. Like, honestly, it's
and normally I've had a morning from hell.
Exactly.
I've been like battling my kids together.
But what you find is that if you open up to another mum and say, actually, I've had a really rubbish day and this is why, they will then have permission to open up to. And that vulnerability, that authenticity creates connection. And that's what we need more than ever as women. Like, we need connection because we are so disconnected from each other. Yeah. So yeah, big talk all the way, I say.
Brilliant. So that's your Instagram handle, Big Talk for Mums,
yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah, Big Talk for Mums.
Brilliant. And where else can people find you and connect with you?
So if you go to my website, which is bigtalkformums.co.uk, then you'll have lots of information on there. But mainly I'm on Instagram.
Yeah, brilliant. And I've tagged you as well on LinkedIn, so if you want to connect. And how can people work with you? So you say you work a lot with companies, but can you do individual sessions?
I do individual, and I love my private clients because I can really spend a lot of time with them. So I do face-to-face walks in walk and talks in my local forest, which is gorgeous.
Where's that for people?
So that's in Hertfordshire, near Berkhamsted.
Okay.
And I work on Zoom though nowadays. So I'm here in this. I mean, I just find I'm stuck in my chair a lot.
It's not a comfy chair though, I have to say.
It is a very comfy chair. Yeah. But yeah, Zoom. So I work with clients all over the world, which I love.
Brilliant. Brilliant. Oh, well, thank you so much for joining us today, Lucy. I had loads of comments and people have been really engaged, and I've loved this conversation. It's really, really resonated with me. So thank you so much. And thank you for everyone that's watched today. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you.
See you soon. Bye.
Bye.